Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Camille and I read and review clean and Christian fiction. And today we are going to be talking about all the books that I read in July. So I read, how many books? I should have looked this up. 16 books in July, and that was a lot. I wasn't expecting to read that many. Quite a few of them were rereads. Quite a few of them I had been in the middle of for quite a while, and so I just finished like a bunch all at once towards the end of the month. So that was really satisfying to finish that many at the end of the month, but that's why this list is a little longer than normal. So let's jump right in and talk about all the books that I reread in the month of July. The first two books that I reread go together, and that is Winter's Maiden and Winter's Chill by Morgan L. Busse. This is book 1 and 2 in the Nordic Wars trilogy, and by the time this video is posted, book 3 will be out and published. That's why I reread these two, because I was gearing up for book 3's release and I wanted to be prepared and have my mind all fresh on all the details. These books are about Bridget, and she is a young Nordic woman who ends up fighting in this war against this other country. They start out fighting each other, but towards the end of the first book, they realize that they are being manipulated by these sort of dark spirit beings. So then they are trying to figure out how to save the Nordic people and the people in the rest of the world from being taken over by these creatures. And I love this series. It's so good. I really love Bridget, and especially this book is my favorite. I just love all the stuff that happens in this book. It's just really interesting. This one starts off a little slow, but you should definitely give it a go because it is just so good and it's worth it. And I highly recommend Morgan L. Busse. I've read most of her books. I still have some on her backlist that I haven't gotten to yet, but I plan on getting to those as soon as I can. And yes, I highly recommend this trilogy, and I cannot wait to read book 3. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Where do I want to stack these where it's not going to be in the way? The next book I reread was Voice of the Ancient by Connilyn Cossette. I am in the middle of rereading this series because book 4 is coming out in October, and so I am reading one book a month until October so I can be prepared for book 4 to come out. And this one is about Avidan and Kezida, and Avidan is a Levite, but he doesn't want to make music like his father and write poems like his father. He wants to fight against the Philistines, and so he and his 3 cousins sneak off to go fight the Ammonites, I think, and then his youngest cousin goes missing. And so Avidan feels responsible and decides that he is going to go fight his cousin. Meanwhile, Kezia, she is part of the tribe of Manasseh, and she is going to be married to this guy, and this guy is not a good guy. He's hateful and mean and disgusting. So she runs away, and she's disguised as a boy, and she meets Avidan, and they start to travel together. And I love this series. I love Connilyn Cossette. She is one of my favorite biblical fiction authors. She's one of my favorite authors of all time. I love her so much, and I definitely highly recommend this one. It's very, very good. The next book that I reread this month was Enhanced by Candace Kade. This has to be like the third or fourth time I've listened to this book, and I just enjoy it so much. This book is about urban, and in this, is it dystopian? I think it's more sci-fi. I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as dystopian, but I'm not sure. It's set in the future where people are, they call it the genetic revolution. So people have figured out how to change people's genetics when they're still babies in the womb to where they can have special powers if you can afford it. Urban is living in this world, and she does not have any enhancements. She is a natural. That's what they're called. And so she is just trying to survive, and she's just trying to go to college like a normal person and to not get discovered as a natural. And my favorite part about this book series is all of the technology and the setting. So it's set in New Beijing, so it's set like in a futuristic China, and all the technology and the setting is just really cool, and I just find it really interesting and different than a lot of other sci-fi dystopian books, and it's just really interesting. So I really enjoyed my reread, and I'm planning on continuing the series with audiobooks when I get the chance, and then I will have reread all the books in that series. This was my nonfiction book for the month. It was also a reread. It is Surprised by Joy by C.S. Lewis. This is his autobiography, and it just kind of tells the story about his early life and how he came to finally surrender himself to Christ. And so I just really enjoy this book because it gives you such an insight into his early upbringing and his early life, and a very detailed deep dive into how he finally allowed himself kind of to become a Christian. And it's just very interesting, and I don't know if you can tell, but I highlighted and tabbed so many parts in this book, and I just thought it was really great. This is probably the second, I can't remember if it's the second or third time I have read this book, but I really enjoyed it. Now we are going to move on to the new books that I read this month, and we are going to be starting from lowest rated all the way up to highest rated. That way we can end this book on a high note, talking about all my 5 stars. There were 5 of them. First, we have to talk about the book that I rated 3 stars, and that was Hearts in Circulation by Sarah Monzon. I talked about an Overdue match in my reading vlog, and we'll be talking about that one in a second. But first we have to talk about this one. I just don't think this book was for me. Yeah. So this book is about, now I don't even remember her name. This girl, this librarian, she's a woman, and she is going to start driving a library bookmobile around to these more rural towns that don't have access to a library, so that they can have access to library books. And then we also have, I think his name was Levi, I think. And he is a reclusive mechanic in one of these small towns. And when her bookmobile breaks down, he kind of rescues her and is repairing the bookmobile. Okay, so that's the main premise of this book. I just did not care for this book. And I want to say that if it had been a clean fiction book, I probably wouldn't have had as many problems with it. But since it was marketed as a Christian rom-com and there was Christian faith elements in it, I just felt like I could not judge it a little more harshly, but be a little more picky with the content that was in the book. And there was just a couple things that I didn't really care for content-wise. One of the things was she said it 4 or 5 times that she was she wanted to curse the mayor because of the bookmobile that he bought was all run down, and she just said that 4 or 5 times, and okay, it was clearly supposed to be funny, but it wasn't funny. I don't think that's funny, talking about cursing people, wanting to curse people. It was curse him so that his socks are wet or something. I just made that up, but not serious stuff, but it was not just oh man, I wish he'd step in something wet with socks on. It was I'm gonna curse him so that that's what happens. That's kind of what it was. And I know it was supposed to be funny, but it just wasn't super funny. The other thing was her and Levi ends up staying in Levi's house for a a couple weeks, like at least a week. So they're living in really close quarters and they've never met before. And so I just felt like that was, and there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with that. Like, they didn't share a room. He had a spare room. So there wasn't anything necessarily wrong with that. But just there was some of the things that happened while they were in the house together. This is going to be a slight spoiler, but this is the main scene that I really didn't like. There was a thunderstorm and Levi, he has, oh shoot, what's it called now? Oh, like a sensory processing kind of disorder. And now I can't remember what it was called. Something like that, where like loud noises and like people touching him and like stuff like smells and like he gets really overstimulated really quickly and stuff like that. So he has a hard time with thunderstorms, and she doesn't like thunderstorms either. She's scared of storms. And so she comes into his bedroom during the thunderstorm and she like lays on top of him because like it helps like calm him down because like the weight, you know? And I just didn't feel like it was appropriate for two characters who were both like Christians to like put themselves in that situation. I'm gonna leave it at that. So originally I gave it 4 stars, and then I thought about it and I was like, and then I gave it 3.5 stars, and then I was thinking about it again today and I was like, no, I think it's 3 stars. So I just didn't really care for it. It just wasn't for me. It was just a miss for me. Other people might like it. I felt like it felt a little flat for me personally, but other people might like it. I'm not trying to discourage you from reading it. Nothing inappropriate happens. Like, they don't sleep together or anything. So I'm not going to discourage you from reading it. I would always say go make your own opinion, but those were just a couple things that stood out to me that I didn't really care for. We're going to move on to the books that I rated 4 stars. And so now we're going to talk about An Overdue Match by Sarah Monzon. So this is book 1 in the series, and the one I just talked about was book 2. I really enjoyed this book, guys. I thought it was super cute. I thought it was super sweet. I've seen so much hate on Goodreads for these books, and I was just like, why? Because especially this one, because I was just like, it was so stinking cute. Like, why? So this book is about Evangeline, and she has alopecia, which means she has lost all of her body hair. So she doesn't have eyebrows, like hair like on her arms or legs, or and her head is obviously all gone. And so she wears a wig because she doesn't want people to know, because people just look at her and like feel really sorry for her and stuff. And then we have Ty, and Ty is this tattoo artist who has just moved to this small town where Evangeline is a librarian, and he like immediately becomes smitten with her and just thinks she's really fun and pretty and just wants to get to know her better. But Evangeline has decided that she had a bad experience with the guy because of her alopecia, and so she's decided that she's never gonna find love, and so she's decided that she's gonna matchmake other people, which we'll talk about in a second because I don't like matchmaking. But anyways, that's the main premise of this story, and the reason that it's 4 stars and not 5 stars is mainly because of the matchmaking, because I just really don't like matchmaking. I know lots of people love it, but I'm honestly like, girl, mind your own business. Like, you are so nosy. Like, nobody wants you nosing around in their business. But I did like the way the matchmaking was handled in this book, because I'm not going to say there was consequences, but there kind of was. So I liked it. But that's the only reason it's not 5 stars, because it was really cute. I just thought this book was really interesting and different. Oh, pause. The other reason that I couldn't quite give it 5 stars is it's a little hard to read, because Evangeline's chapters are written in first person present tense, and Ty's chapters are written in third person past tense. And so it's a little jarring going from an Evangeline chapter to a Ty chapter, and it just takes a few minutes for your brain to be like, oh, okay. And so it's just a little hard to read. So that's why it's also not 5 stars. I'm not sure why the author decided to do that. Hearts in Circulation was like that too. I don't really like that style. I feel like unless it's like a flashback, it just needs to, the whole book needs to be written in the same tense, you know? That's just me personally. I don't know. So that's why it's 4 stars. But I thought this book was cute. And I can kind of see why some people wouldn't like it, because he's a tattoo artist and like there's that. And then but I don't know. It's funny because, and it's also a little frustrating because Evangeline sees all his tattoos and automatically she's like, "Oh, he's a bad boy." The other thing about Evangeline is she's very naive and she's read a lot of romance novels, and so she categorizes a lot of stuff by the stuff she's read in her books. So that does get a little frustrating. You just kind of have to suspend your belief and just enjoy the story and not worry about it, because they're not real people and it's just a book. With all that said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I want to buy a copy for my bookshelf. I think it's really sweet. And my favorite part was Ty's unconditional love for her and showing her that he loved her no matter what she looked like. And it was just really sweet. The next 4-star that I read in July was Meet Me at Sunset Cove by Sarah Mae Warren. This was just like the cutest fall rom-com like ever. And it is book 4 in the Jonathan Island series. I love Jonathan Island. I don't want to live in Jonathan Island because I don't really want to live in Michigan. Is it Michigan? I can't remember. Minnesota, Michigan, somewhere over there. Personally, I don't really like islands, but if I was going to have to live on an island, I would definitely go pick Jonathan Island over like a tropical island. So it's just super cute, and I love all the characters, and I love the faith content. It's just so good. So this book is about Daisy and Hunter, and I also love this because Daisy is a home reno, like HGTV home show reno girly. Like she had a show with her ex-boyfriend and they like renovated homes, and I just thought that was so fun, and I've never seen that in a romance before, and I just thought it was super fun. And then Hunter he's like a construction, like kind of like a contractor, and he manages a lot of his dad's like huge contracting business. And so Daisy comes to Jonathan Island because she needs to rebuild her kind of fan base after she broke up with her boyfriend and he took over her show. So she's trying to rebuild her fan base, and she wants to renovate a house on Jonathan Island and like film episodes on her YouTube channel, which is so ingenious, and I wish she was real because I would watch her YouTube videos. And then so she meets Hunter because she wants to renovate his family's old house, and they have some history. And he is very, very prickly towards her at first, but he slowly starts to warm up and helps her kind of revamp his family's old house. I just thought it was so cute. I loved the renovation subplot in reading about the renovation, and then there were her YouTube videos were like written out, and that was really fun to read. And the fall vibes were like perfect. And I loved their romance. Daisy and Hunter were so cute. I just really enjoyed it. I read this book in like literally 2 days, and it was just like a fun book to like binge read. I'm pretty sure I read it when I was sick, and so it was nice to like not have something that took a lot of brain power to concentrate on, that I just really enjoyed reading. Okay, and then the last book in my 4-star category was Dreamwalker by Carrie Cotten. Okay. This is the first Carrie Cotten book I've ever given less than 5 stars to, and that makes me really sad. I love the Huntress series so much, and so I think I was expecting to like really love this series like just as much. I didn't, and that's okay. It's fine. I still enjoyed it. It was still good. So this book is about Andy, and she works for this secret government agency that is called the Agency, and it's like off book. Like there's no record of it in like the government. It's not like they don't want people to know they exist. And so she has this special ability that she can like dreamwalk into people's dreams and then find information out about them through their dreams. Did I get that right? I think so. It's a little confusing. And so she does this for the Agency, like going into like terrorists and like bad people's dreams and like figuring out the truth, and like then they can arrest them and stuff. I don't know, that doesn't sound very legal, but I guess it doesn't really matter because the Agency is not like, you know, it's yeah. So one day she is just going along her business. This is like routine. She does this all the time. And this guy kind of like takes over her dream world, the dreamscape that they're in, which has never happened to her before. And things happen. I can't say what. And so she ends up on the run from the Agency. Yeah, that's kind of the whole book. It's not very long. It's not even 300 pages, I don't think. And I liked it. I liked the premise. I'm trying to remember. I feel like this might be Carrie Cotten's like debut novel. And I think you can tell. So there's just a couple things. Andy, as a character, feels a little flat because she is just constantly telling us like how she feels. Like, I feel scared, I feel upset, I feel angry, and it's just like very, very info dumpy when it comes to like her feelings and her backstory. Oh my gosh, you guys, let me tell you about this. She has a conversation with this guy named Will, who ends up being a pretty significant character, and in this conversation she basically tells him her entire life story, like from when she was little to like now, and like she's just like telling him all of this, and like he's just listening. And it's very detailed. It's not like, oh, I grew up and then like this happened and now I'm here. It's like pages of her very complex background. And I was reading it and I was just like, okay. This is very boring, because she was just sitting there telling it to him. And I was like, oh, okay. So, that aside, it was good. I would recommend it if you like suspense. Just know that I'm pretty sure it's a debut. And it gets a little slow in some spots when it gets kind of like that. But I do have to say, Will, he was sweet. He was the best. I wish we had his POV because it was just so great. He's my favorite character. I was like, bye, Andy. Let me talk to Will now. I want to talk to Will. Go on. Get out of here. Which is totally not the point of the book. The other point was it had really good faith content, as Carrie Cotten does. Always does that so well. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish the series. I'm not in a hurry to, though. So there is that. Now we are going to move on to our 4.5 star reads. And they are both arcs. So the first one is An Alliance of Ash and Jade by A.J. Skelly. And this book is coming out August 25th. Mark your calendars. It's a good one. This book is about Jade and actually, for this one, I think I'm going to read the blurb because it is just so, I'm just not sure how I can explain it and summarize it well without spoiling a bunch of stuff. So I'm just actually going to read the blurb. I feel like that'll be a lot easier for everybody. Jade is desperate to win her father's affection and her place among her clan. If she can win the crown challenges and appoint her brother to the next heir apparent, her place in her father's heart will be assured. But she can't do it alone, so she agrees to an alliance with the cruel and devastatingly handsome Sky Prince, whom she has every intention of double-crossing. Ash is cursed, no powers, no wings. Without his magic, he cannot win the crown challenges to ascend the throne. His only recourse is a bold vow to kill the curse caster, and wedding her will provide just the opportunity he needs. But just as Ash is ready to end his curse once and for all, an assassin attacks, and Jade saves his life. Now bound to a blood debt, he cannot kill her, nor remove his curse. Caught in the purgatory of betrayal and a fight to a death to win the challenges, Ash has no choice but to trust the beguiling girl he's now forced to protect. As they battle to attain the crown, they'll have to work together to beat the other contestants and fight their growing forbidden attraction, all while remembering that their tenuous alliance ends with the challenges and that their marriage is a sham. But something wicked hides in the shadows, forgotten secrets that threaten the very existence of the Empire. Only by joining forces do Jade and Ash have any hope of overcoming the evil rising in the darkness, but even that might not be enough. Somehow, this author managed to combine Celtic culture, Asian culture, and then like Atlantis into like one cohesive world. I don't know how she did it, but it was great. I enjoyed it. I binged this book in like 2-3 days. It was amazing. I loved it. It was so like just so easy to just sit down and like get lost in. It was really immersive, and the setting was really cool, and it was fast paced. Stuff just kept happening, so it's like I wasn't getting hung up on stuff. It was just good, and I just really enjoyed it. So I don't really do enemies to lovers. It's not like a trope that I'm super drawn to, and when I see it, I'm just like a book marketed as enemies to lovers, I'm just like, yes, that one, I want to read that, I have to. You know, I'm more drawn to friends to lovers, strangers to lovers, marriage of convenience, which is why I applied to read this one, because I was like, oh, marriage of convenience. Oh, okay, that's me. It's my favorite trope. So I really enjoyed the enemies actually to lovers. And it wasn't like enemies to lovers. It was like enemies to like reluctant allies, to cautious friends, and then to like, oh my gosh, finally they kissed. Stuff like that. So it was really good. I do want to read this to you. This is about the romance. Some of you will probably not like this book because the romance is a little more heavy in it. It's Marriage of Convenience. There are a few heated makeouts. One is on a bed. And a fade to black scene between a married couple. I didn't have an issue with the romantic content, but some people might be more sensitive than me. I don't mind reading a little more romance heavy books, but I'm married. It doesn't bother me. It might bother you. That's all I'm trying to say. The next book on my 4.5 star list is Made Like the Moon by Carrie Cotten, and this is going to be a super short review because I have to tell you, I was sick when I read this book. I had a fever for most of it. I honestly don't remember anything of what I read while I read this book. I know I liked it and I know it was good. I can't tell you any more than that though, so I'm actually rereading it right now. So I'll have a better review for you next month. I did tell my husband, I was like, I'm not allowed to read arcs when I have a fever because I don't know what it was about. So that happened. I read it. I gave it 4.5 stars because I was like, I think it's 5 stars, but honestly, I can't form enough like comprehensive thoughts to make me to know it's 5 stars. So right now it's 4.5 stars, and hopefully I will have a more detailed review for you next month. But for now, that's all I've got for you. Oh boy. Camille. Okay, so now we get to move on to all the books that I rated 5 stars in the month of July. The first one I talked about, it was in my reading vlog, is The Sunbird's Last Lament by Andrèa Costello. You guys, this book, I love it so much. Look at my tabs. Okay, I just can't. You just need to go watch my reading vlog because I laughed. I can't remember. Did I cry at the end of this? I may have teared up. I didn't cry. We're going to talk about a book that made me cry I'm getting ahead of myself though. So this book is about Valena, and she has this kind of botanical magic that grows poisonous plants and stuff like that. So she has this like dark botanical magic, and she spent her childhood being forced kind of like to be a weapon by her father in this war between these two countries. And she finally is like, nope, and she runs away. And she's like been secretly plotting revenge against her father ever since she ran away, because he sent her sister away and she doesn't know where her sister is. So she wants to find her sister, put her sister, like kill her father and put her sister on the throne so that they can like end the war, because her father is just truly like a terrible person. That's all there is to it. And then we have Evander. I love him. Okay, he's a dragon trainer who broke her heart. The thing about this is, Evander is dying. And he has this, what is it called? This kind of, I don't know, magical remedy that keeps him alive. But it's running out. And he can't find it, like anywhere in the world. Like they cannot find it. And so he left Valena because he didn't want her to see him die. But then she comes back into his life, and he just like, he tries, but he can't help himself. And yeah, things happen. And they're just, oh my gosh, I just love them so much. And you may hear that description and be like, that doesn't sound very cozy, but it is cozy. You guys, this is like such a cozy book, and yet at the same time, it's not. And I don't know how else to describe it except for you need to read this book. There is... Did I write it down? I wrote it down in my review. Hold on. There is a little bit of cursing in this book, so I'm going to find it and tell you that. Okay. I just love it so much. I have 55 highlights on my Goodreads because I read it on my Kindle. And I want to go back and like study this book like for my writing, because I love her prose. It is beautifully stunning, and it is gorgeous, and it is like, oh, it is so good. So I need to go back and like study this book because I want my writing to sound more like this. Okay. Content notes. There are closed door scenes between a married couple. There's mild language, hell, or hellish, the A word, and then the British B word. And then there is war and war violence. It's not super detailed, but it is there. And character death. And that's all I can say. So, 5 stars. Read it. Okay, the next 5-star. Oh, I forgot to grab it. Okay, I'll just hold this one up. The next 5-star on this list is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Technically, I listened to the Audible exclusive full cast edition, but I'll hold this up to show you guys. I also just love these covers. I think they're so fun. This book is number 4, and this is the one where Harry gets entered into the Goblet of Fire, and he has to compete in all the trials. And yeah, I've just loved all of these. I'm pretty sure they've all been 5 stars, except for the Chamber of Secrets. I didn't really care for that one, but all the rest of them so far have been like 5 stars. I highly recommend the Audible exclusive editions. I don't want to talk about this too much. I don't want to spoil it. Most of you probably either have read Harry Potter or never plan on reading Harry Potter. But I've never read Harry Potter. I have seen this. I watched the movie before I watched this, though, or read this. The book was better, obviously. There's more. There's just more content. And I also love that these books just keep getting thicker and thicker and thicker. I just think that's like the best thing ever. So I guess I'll put this on my stack. Oh my gosh, you guys. I don't want to talk about this book. Okay. The next 5-star book that I read was Ashfall by Dalton and Emily Bequette. If I think too much about this book, I'm gonna cry. Okay, you can do this, Camille. I was literally flipping through my tabs on trying to find quotes for my Instagram review, and I teared up reading the quotes that I highlighted from this book. This is one of those books that you just want to hug and scream and sob and throw across the room and like all the things. Oh, you know what this reminds me of? My husband and we were watching Friends. I don't recommend that show for unmarried people. But we were watching Friends, and Joey on Friends was reading Little Women, and he got to the part where Beth dies. I feel like we all know that Beth dies. And he got to the part where Beth dies. And he's like, whenever he gets sad about books, he puts them in the freezer, because you put them in the freezer, nothing bad can happen because they're like frozen. And so Rachel was like, Joey, do you want to put the book in the freezer? And he was like, mm-hmm. And I just thought of this just now, but this is one of those books you're going to want to put in the freezer. Okay. So I can't really tell you too much about this book. It is book 2 in the Flameheart. I don't know the name of the series. What's the name of the series? Flameheart something. I feel like I've talked enough about Flameheart on here that I don't need to tell you guys what it is. Okay, so you guys, this book, I gave it 5 stars because you know why? I have not sobbed, like full on tears running down my face, couldn't read the page. This was an ARC, so I didn't read this physical copy. Couldn't read the page, sobbing hysterically. I haven't done that since I was 15 years old, and I read The Fellowship of the Ring. I guess it's technically The Two Towers, and when Boromir dies. And I remember when I was 15 reading that and laying on my bedroom floor, sobbing my eyes out because Boromir died, and I loved Boromir. I thought he was a great character. I know a lot of people hate Boromir. Whatever. Don't even start with me. I love him. He's great. And I haven't sobbed that much since reading a book till now. I foolishly thought that I would be okay when I read this book, even though the authors have been telling us ever since they started marketing for this book that it was going to rip your heart out. I was like, well, that's okay. I've read lots of books that were supposed to rip your heart out, and like I got a little sad, but like I didn't cry because it's really hard to make me cry when I read. I was not okay. I was not okay, okay? I was not all right. It was not okay. It was not fine. It's literally the saddest thing I've ever read. Yeah, I was sitting on the couch. My husband was in the kitchen, and first I screamed because I was like, absolutely not. So I was like, ah! But I screamed, and my husband is like, what? What's wrong? And I was like, something bad just happened. And I told him, and I just started crying. And then I kept reading, and it just kept getting worse. It just kept getting worse. Okay. So, yes, if a book makes me sob, automatically 5 stars, just for that alone. But that's not the only reason it's 5 stars. It's so good. Casey and Aurelia, we love them. My poor babies are so traumatized after this book, though. I don't know if I can ever forgive Dalton and Emily for what they've done to my babies. I just don't know if I can. It's rough, okay? It's rough in here. It's rough in here. It's rough. It's good. You need to read this series. But you're gonna need, like, ice cream, tissues. If you're married, you're probably gonna need, like, some, like, snuggles from your husband, like, to get over this, because, like, it is very rough. But it's worth it. I hope it's worth it. Please let it be worth it. It's so good, though. But you notice, I read this as an ARC. I still haven't put any tabs in because I know that I'm gonna cry. It's like it's gonna make me cry again. So I'm, like, avoiding it, because, like, I don't want to put my tabs in. But I definitely recommend this book. My second to last book we're going to talk about in this list is 5 stars. Shadowed Loyalty by Roseanna M. White. Okay, it has been so long since I've read a Roseanna M. White book that I've never read before. It's just been a long time since I've read a historical Roseanna M. White book. Since I read the Collector of Burned Books like last year. So it's been like a year, which is sad. But I've read most of her historical books, which that makes sense. Okay, so this book is about Sabina, and her father is a mob boss. It's like head of the mafia in Chicago, like one of the leading mafia, what are they called, guys, in Chicago in the 1920s, okay? And there was this guy that she was in love with. And he turned out to be an undercover cop who betrayed her family, and now her father's in prison, or in jail, being charged with, like, I don't know, something. Not a huge charge, but enough that it's like, oh boy, we gotta get him out of jail. So she calls Lorenzo. And she's known Lorenzo for a long time, and she's actually engaged to him. Lorenzo is a lawyer, and he made his father and Sabina's father, because his father's in the mafia too, promise not to drag him into the mafia stuff because he didn't want to be any part of that. He is an upstanding citizen. He doesn't want to be part of the mafia. All these things. But Sabina calls him because her father is in jail. She doesn't know what else to do. So Lorenzo, he's mad, but he feels like he can't say no because it's his family. So he finds out about this guy that betrayed her father that she was in love with, and things happen. I loved this book. It was so good, and this book is totally not going to be for everybody. But I thought this book was so good. So good. I just enjoyed it so much. I started out listening to the audiobook, and I highly recommend the audiobook because the lady who narrates it does like their Italian accents really well and the Chicago accent really well, and it just is like, it's like you're there. So unfortunately I couldn't listen to the whole thing on the audiobook because it got taken off of my Audible subscription. Rude. And so I thankfully had this copy of it, and I was able to finish it. I just love this so much. It's so unique because it starts out, Sabina and Lorenzo are engaged, but they've been engaged for like a long time, and he's been really distant, and so she has fallen in love with somebody else and was like going around with him behind Lorenzo's back, which I do not condone, but I liked the way that it was handled in this book. It was just so good. Okay, so I'm going to try to read a little bit from my review, or just look at my review so I don't get off track. Okay, I loved the characters because they were real, flawed humans. Every single character in this book is like a real, flawed human being. They have some good qualities and some bad qualities, and they all, even the characters that you don't really want to like have like some good qualities, so you can't just completely write them off. And I loved how it showed them struggling with their fake convictions and circumstances, especially because Sabina, her eyes start to get opened to everything that like her father does in the mafia, and she is like, because she's been like really sheltered from like that, and so she is like starting to struggle with that and be like, okay, how do I handle this? And Lorenzo, all his brothers are in the mafia, his family, his father, he's not, but he still loves his family, even though what they do like really like breaks his heart, but he still like loves them and is like around them, and he doesn't just like cut them completely out of his life. This book is a little bit darker than some of her other books, I feel like, just because of like the mafia aspect, because there's murder, there's prostitution, there's all this stuff, and it is portrayed in a bad light because Lorenzo knows the mafia is bad, and Sabina is learning just how like dark it actually is. And so it's kind of like her coming to terms with that, and then them deciding together, okay, what are we going to do how are we going to handle this? How do we not be a part of the mafia, but also not leave our families completely because we still love them and we want to like be a light in their lives. So it's just really good. What I loved most about this book was the faith aspect of this book. And this book has heavy Catholic faith content. I'm not Catholic, but I loved the faith content in this book because it was so beautifully written. I know Roseanna M. White is Catholic, and this was by far probably her heaviest book Catholicism-wise that I've read from her so far, but I did not mind it. I didn't feel weird about it. I loved it. I loved the faith content and how like central the characters' faith was to their lives, and how it wasn't just like an afterthought, like, oh, let's just go to church and then do whatever. And some of the characters were like that, but Sabina and Lorenzo were not like that. So I really liked that, and I just loved how it was portrayed. I loved their relationship and how it doesn't start like in the normal place, like they're already engaged and something happens and they have to figure out how to work through it together. It felt very realistic, and I actually really enjoyed it. And some people might not like it because it was so realistic, but I really loved it. I also loved the strong family ties in this book, because even though their families are part of the mafia and do really dark and terrible things, they still love each other and look out for each other as a family. And just to be clear, this book does not glorify the mafia at all. I had a couple content notes. Let me find them. So, this novel is set in mafia families. Subsequently, there are mentions of murders, bootlegging, betrayals, and other mafia activities. There are also some characters who work in brothels, and there are a few closed-door scenes between unmarried couples. Not Lorenzo and Sabina, but some side characters that we have point of views of. I loved this book. I thought it was really good. My next 5-star, okay, it's not technically a book. It's a novella. It's a little novella. But I couldn't give it anything less than 5 stars just because I thought it was so cute. It is The Wedding Gift by Connilyn Cossette, and it's like a prequel novella to her Kingsman series, and so it's when all of the 4 cousins are like younger boys, and it was just really cute, and I just really enjoyed it. And I didn't want to give it anything less than 5 stars because I was like, it was just so cute, and I don't mind giving novellas 5 stars. I'll show you my stack of books. I read a lot of these digitally this month, and I didn't realize how many books I read digitally this month, but here's my stack. So this is the stack of books that I read. Over half, what is it half and half? Yep, it's half and half rereads, half and half new reads. So that's fun. And then I wanted to go over the books that I'm currently reading with you guys, because I'm actually not in the middle of that many books right now, and I wanted to just kind of share where I'm at. Okay, so the first book, I will get it. First book that I am in the middle of this month is my nonfiction read for the month, and it is Unveiling Grace by Lynn Wilder, and it is the story of how we found our way out of the Mormon church. And I'm only this far into it, but look at all my tabs, all my highlights. I think this book is a book that every Christian should read, because I feel like Mormonism is something that is not talked about a lot, but is something that we all need to be aware of and know how to combat against, because it is very, very easily confused, and it is very twisty, and it's that way on purpose. And it is very hard to talk to a Mormon about Christianity. This is a book that every Christian, everyone should read this book. But for sure, every Christian should definitely read. And then I'm also in the middle of Shield of the Mighty. This is book 2 in the Kingsman series. I am only 5 chapters in, so I'm not super far into it, but that's okay. I have all month to read this one. And then I am reading An Arc of Eventide by A.M. Dalton. I think I'm only like 20 or 30% of the way through, and I'm really enjoying that so far. I'm also listening to Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and I'm a little less than halfway through that one. I'm also reading The Roman Holiday Rule by Andrèa. I just kept seeing this book everywhere, and I was like, okay, I can't find anybody that I follow who has read an arc of this book. I'm just going to pre-order it because, seriously, look at this cover. The stinking cutest cover that I've seen in a long time, and I just kept seeing it, and I was like, I should pre-order it, and I was like, no, I'm just gonna wait, because how do I know if it's good? But then I just kept seeing it, and I was like, okay, I'm pre-ordering it. And I'm glad I did, because I'm only this far of the way through, and I already have several tabs. It's really funny and cute. So I am in the middle of that one. Like I told you guys, I am rereading Made Like the Moon. So, and I just realized I never told you guys what that book was about. So I am going to read the blurb, if I can find it, because I never told you guys what it was about. And it is releasing on October 6th. So, okay. Grace Goodwin doesn't look like a killer. She doesn't act or think like one either. But after accidentally witnessing a back alley murder, Grace finds herself the #1 suspect and a target of both drug cartel and mafia organizations. There's no one left whom she trusts except for her Italian pen pal, and she doesn't even know his real name. Armed with nothing but Jesus and jokes, Grace zigzags the globe, running for her life while trying to uncover the truth. Mafia enforcer Raphael Moretti was born into a world of darkness, where disloyalty is deadly and violence is expected. Trying to keep his family safe, he takes on another unwanted assignment. A pink-haired, kitten-loving American has been uncovered as the ruthless assassin known only as the Ghost. The longer she eludes him, the more his curiosity is piqued by the cat-and-mouse game they're playing. But no matter how much he secretly wants her to survive, Rafe knows he will lose everything if he fails in his mission. Will Grace and Rafe discover the truth about their identities before they irrevocably destroy their future? That's what that one's about. Like I said, I'm rereading it because I can't remember anything. So, review pending. And then I am also in the middle of a library book, Sunrise by Susan May Warren. I'm already lost in this book. There's so many characters. I feel like I need to read all the characters' books but come before. But I'm just focusing on the 2 main characters and trying not to get lost in all the side characters. So, yeah. And I'm only on page 42. So, I'm really proud of myself because I'm only in the middle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books. One of those is my nonfiction. 2 of them are rereads and 1 is an audiobook. That's pretty good for me. That is all that I have for you guys today. I hope this video is not too long. Ugh, they're always too long. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite book was you read in July. Yeah, or let me know if any of these look interesting to you. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I am the Cozy Peddler, and that is where I post book reviews and bookish stuff. And I'm also on Instagram as CA Mose Writes, and that is my writing account where you can follow along with the fantasy novel I'm currently drafting. And I also have Substack. I have Substack. I'm not super active on Substack, but I have it. So, if you guys want to follow me there, you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have an absolutely lovely rest of your day. Bye!